subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us on another amazing video. Today I wanted to do something a bit more different than, showing gameplay, talking about a particular TCG. I kind of wanted to talk about the tournament scene. So I started going to local tournaments, maybe over the last 8 months or so. And I'll be honest, the first time I went to a tournament, I felt very overwhelmed. My first tournament was One Piece. And I just, I never expected so much like energy, enthusiasm, and just the amount of people that was sort of there. And when I first, went to my tournament, I also didn't know the game very well, so I was very worried about, how people treat me. Will they be upset if I go too slow? And since, joining my first tournament, I've been to a variety of local tournament shops all across the country, went to different places from New York, Washington, Connecticut. You know, every time I travel somewhere, I try to make it a point to stop by a local trading card shop, see what they have in, stock, and if I'm able to like join a tournament, I definitely try to do so. So before we sort of get into, tournament gear that I think that everyone should bring with them to make their experience better, just wanted to like dig a bit more into my initial experience of going to a tournament. So when I first went to a tournament, I bought like a brand new starter deck. At that point, I didn't even like change any cards out. I didn't really even play on the simulator too much. My wife and I practiced, and I thought I was ready. I remember when I first went to the tournament, I was like, damn, everyone's gonna know I'm a noob. And I got into the matchup, already found it super exciting. And I remember when I first sat down and started playing with my against my opponent, I forgot what my deck did. I was like, oh my god, I forgot a lot of my combos, and just I was a super nervous wreck. But one of the things I did notice though, every single person I played with, they've done such an incredible job just like talking me through what's going on. So, when I first started, I would, right out the gate would mention to people that, hey, I'm a new player, please be patient with me. And everyone was super awesome about that. I haven't even come across a situation where someone was being rude or like felt annoyed by me. I remember every like move I made, if there was like a better move, someone would be like, "Hey, maybe you should have done this, maybe you should have done that." And they really helped me learn how to like play One Piece better. Like I've done other trading card tournaments, but the one I really love to like, focus on and play personally is the One Piece trading card game. So if you are a new player going into the scene, just know that the local tournament scene is relatively friendly. Like yes, people are competitive, but this is where people go to learn, grow, and you're hoping to like, use this experience to go into bigger regional tournaments. So I know no matter what I say, to you guys, going to your first tournament, experiencing for yourself is probably going to be the best way to do it. And just sort of think about this other perspective too is once you eventually figure out the game, once you have a lot of experience going to these local tournaments, you're going to come across new players who are probably going to be in the same shoes that you're in. And the best thing you can do is give them the same exact courtesy. I think the more friendly of an environment we can make a TCG shop, the bigger community we can build. A lot of my local shops that I go to, 90% of the players are always, similar. The last 10% are usually new people, coming into the scene. So it's definitely encouraged that if you know a lot about the game and you're in one of these tournaments, help people out. I think if you do that, you're going to get them to come back, get them to be better. Like, I'm not the greatest player in the world, but I think I'm definitely a lot better than I was the first time I tried it. I feel a lot more confident. I know a lot more about what's going on. And, I'm able to have a great time now. So that's like the first part of it, actually going to a tournament, signing up. And, I don't want to go over all the apps and everything, but one of the best things you can do is if you're interested in local tournaments, download the Bandai, tournament app, sign up, pick your favorite TCG game there. And one of the things I really love about the Bandai app is you can actually search, for your local tournaments by distance. If you don't want to go super far and you're lucky enough to live in a big city like I live in New York City, so essentially tournaments everywhere. This is definitely a great resource to go and find those shops and, find hopefully the place that you're going to be playing for a long time. So with that out of the way, definitely go give tournaments a try. And now let's just talk about some of the gear that I think is worth having when you go to a tournament. And what I'm talking about right now doesn't strictly apply to One Piece. I think you can easily apply it to essentially any TCG out there. So a little embarrassing. The first time I went to a tournament, I actually thought it was one round. So I think it was $15. I paid for it. I had my first game. I lost, and I looked to my friend who I bought with me. I was like, "Hey, let's get out of here. The tournament's over." And then the shop owner actually looked at me and was like, "Hey, if everyone only played one round and you gave me $15, I could be super rich doing this." So tournaments can be long. Depending on how many people are there, you could have anywhere from 3 to 6 rounds, potentially even more, depending on the game, your setup. So this is just my long way of saying when you go to a shop, just expect that you're going to be there for some amount of time. So having your gear with you is going to be super duper important. The first one I kind of want to talk about is actually bringing some type of nice bag with you. You know, you don't need anything super fancy. The big thing I always try to advocate for is don't bring something bulky. A lot of TCG shops you go to aren't going to have like they're not going to have the biggest setup. You know, I've been in shops where it's like really comfortable, awesome layout, but I've been in other shops where like super small, super cramped. You got like 20 people or 30 people stuffed into a small area, and that's actually fun as well too. So when space becomes a big issue, you don't want to be that jerk that kind of takes up all this room. You want to be fair to everyone else. So something like this, this is a simple basketball, bag, very lightweight. You can keep all your stuff in here, and it's super portable. It doesn't take up a lot of room. So that's like a number one. Have a really good bag. Make sure like it's secure. Make sure it's lightweight. When I went to my first tournament, I actually made the mistake of bringing my deck and other things in a black garbage bag. Did not very work out very well for me because the bag eventually did rip. So having a good bag is definitely number one. Now the second thing is, I think it's really important, regardless of what TCG you play, to have some type of game mat. I think game mats are really amazing, especially if you're relatively new. Like, I'm sure as you've watched and followed this channel more, you're going to see I'm a big fan of Reiju. And this is like one of my favorite, game mats for One Piece right here. And game mats are really important because they can help you figure out where things should go, where your deck should go, where your active characters, where your trash can go. So when you're in a situation like this where you might be feeling very overwhelmed by, hey, have a lot of things going on, having that game mat there just makes it so much easier and one less thing to remember. And especially, a lot of times you don't know what surfaces you're playing on. You can be playing on something slippery, something really rough, maybe something that doesn't have the best hygiene. So having your game mat there really makes sure that you can like have a good experience, have a great time playing, know where everything should go. And on top of that, it protects your cards. Our cards, yes, they're great for playing, but they're also worth something. Maybe one day you're done playing and you want to sell the things you have. You want to make sure your cards are kept in a great, you know, condition so you can do something with it. Either pass it on, sell it, hold on to it. Regardless of what it is, I think it's really important to have a game mat. They're relatively cheap. There are a lot of companies out there where you can print your own game mat. You can go to Etsy, other various shops, and very soon on TCG Swap, we're gonna have a bunch of customized, awesome game mats made by us, whether it's for One Piece, Pokemon, and just other, trading card games. So game mat's a big one. The other one I really like to recommend is having a really awesome case to hold your cards. You want to make sure your cards are protected, and you also want to make sure you can have all the things you need. Sometimes, depending on a trading card game, for example, with One Piece, you might want to have some dice, some coins, and other things to help you track what's going on with the game. So I suggest getting a really solid case. And one of my favorite cases, I got this off Amazon. I don't want to post any links or anything because I don't want to direct people or try to make money off affiliate links or anything like that. If you search for card cases, you're going to find a crap ton of options. But one of the ones I really love is any type of card case that gives you the ability to hold multiple decks. So here I'm holding my Reiju deck, turn it around, and I have my Blackbeard deck. So having this type of versatility, flexibility is always great to have. So any type of card holder with more than two decks is always great. And the other thing about these as well too is when you have important cards like your leader, please protect them. There's plenty of, magnetic cases you can get that better protects your card. It just, especially in One Piece, if you have like a really expensive leader, something like a Doflamingo or an alternate art, you really want to get, those things protected. So these things are relatively cheap. They're probably like $5-10. They give you a bunch of it. And a lot of cases they just fit right into, which makes it really amazing. So this is the type of case that I have, and there's a lot of variations of this case. So here's my two decks here, and then if you wanted to open up, there's a slot here. We can keep your dice and things of other nature. So having this is really awesome. And for me, when I go into tournaments, I always like to bring my two favorite decks. And a lot of times I'll decide which, leader I want to play based on who I'm facing against. So if it's gonna be my first turn against, like, let's say a Blackbeard, maybe I might do something different. Or if it gets a Dofi, I may pick a different leader than Reiju, or something else. So having, the ability to change up what you might potentially play is really important. And now when we're talking about multiple leader, let's kind of talk about a little bit of etiquette. Something that you might see a lot of new players do is they might bring multiple decks with them, and depending on who they're going against each round, they might try to switch it up. And you shouldn't really do that because the goal of local tournaments is to see how the game is played, gain this experience. So one day, if you want to go to regional or any other big tournament, you know exactly how it's done. You have the gameplay and all of that. So if you want to play multiple leaders, this is what I would recommend. First, pick the leader that you really want to play and start the game with that. Let's say you end up in a situation where you're not doing well, you're probably not going to win, the tournament, but you do want to practice either the leader you're playing or someone new. The best thing you can do is when you start a new round, talk to the player with that you're going against. Explain them to the situation, be like, hey, I don't think I'm gonna lose. I really would like to practice this new deck or this new thing I'm doing. Would you mind if I switch my leader up or my deck up? And as long as they're okay with it, and almost in 99% of the cases that I personally run across, most people are chill. People don't take local tournaments super duper serious. And that's great because you want to have a fun environment. If you go to a regional or a bigger tournament, that's where rules are a lot more strict, and you kind of have to be because that is a competitive scene. You're going to these places, to these bigger tournaments, not to learn how to play the game, but to show off how great you are. So in those situations, if you go in with a particular deck, you have to play it all the way through to the end. But in local tournaments, that's your opportunity to sort of mess around and see what's going on. So beyond, having your deck, your bag, your gaming mat, your accessories, having a couple of dices is always amazing. If you want to use the dice to determine who goes first or last, if you have any modifiers for your ability, you want to use it, that's great to have. Even a coin, that's great to have. Bring those accessories. The other big thing, as I mentioned, is sometimes a tournament can go on for a while, couple hours for sure. So bringing some small snack, maybe a bottle of water or something to drink, is always really important. And please don't make the new mistake that I made. I remember the first time I brought water with me. I was playing, I put my water bottle up on the table, and everyone was cringing. No one was said anything to me because they were super nice, but I could just tell that, hey, we're playing a card game. You have liquid on the table, probably not a good idea. So stuff like liquids, food, keep it to the side. If you can wait till your round is over, then you can go ahead and drink, eat, do whatever you have to do. And sometimes the tournament round can also take a while. I've done games where I was done within like 10, 15 minutes. It was a fast game, but the overall round lasted 30, 35 minutes. So feel free to step away, go outside, do something. The Bandai app and other tournament apps are really, cool because they actually tell you when it's your turn. So you don't have to be worried about, hey, I'm going to miss out or whatever the case is. People are very generally cool about that. So even though a lot of this might seem like common sense, I didn't have access to a lot of this information when I first started. I made a lot of rookie moves. I did a lot of things that made me nervous. And I just wanted to take this opportunity just to walk people through my experience and sort of encourage you. If you really love trading card game, if you have things you want to trade, try, or play, go to your local shops. As you get older, it's definitely harder to make friends and make connections. When you're younger, you got things like school. You can easily go meet people and do stuff. But going to trading card, tournaments or events is just such a great way to find other like-minded people and really support the local businesses. Like, yes, there's bigger shops like Targets and Walmart that creates trading card store. But a lot of my best like pulls and trading card experience are from your local card shop. This is like their, lifeblood. So please, if you can, try to buy local. Try not to go too crazy. I understand that when you want to play, you want to bring all the best deck, you want to bring the best alternate art, a lot of fancy stuff. You can do all of that, but just make sure you focus on the actual gameplay first. Make sure you're getting better at the game. And if you do that and you try to have fun and you be a good person, I think you're going to have a great time in local, environments. And one last thing I want to call out is I'm not really big on spending a crap ton of money on random stuff. But if you play, any type of trading game, one of the things I really love doing is making custom card sleeves. So this is an example of a card sleeve I have right here that I got made from Dragon Shield. I am not sponsored by them. I just like to use Dragon Shield. I think they have one of the best like card protectors out there, and they have really amazing, custom cards that you can make with whatever images you want. Just be warned, if you use Dragon Shield, it might take a bit longer to get, your item, but when they do come, they're amazing. And just the last thing I want to call out too is if you play One Piece or you have any type of game that has custom resources, I love having custom resource cards. Stuff like this, there's a nice Frankie over here. There's a Usopp over here. It's kind of hard to see with my light. Definitely work on making that better. So just having these type of custom cards are cool. But the other thing about having these custom cards or proxy cards, we call them often, is yes, if you want to use them in local tournaments, they're more than fine. But if you go to any type of competitive scene, if you go to any type of large tournaments, these proxy cards usually are not allowed or frowned upon. So just make sure that, hey, you can do stuff like that in local tournaments for fun, but don't get in trouble by, trying to bring these custom, cool looking stuff to big tournaments. So with that, super simple video. At some point, I'll probably record some gameplay of my local tournament, tournaments and shops and how I sort of, do things out there. But before we get to that, I wanted to do this quick intro video, and I definitely appreciate everyone listening. A lot of this is definitely going to seem like common sense, and if you do take anything away, is be a good person, be patient, and come prepared, and you're going to have a great time. So beyond that, I don't have anything else. I definitely appreciate you listening, and a lot more, tips and tricks like this. I want to come out. I want to make sure that the tournament scene is accessible to everyone. And with that, I will see everyone later. Good night, good day, wherever you are. Peace.